looking to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Aliana Sebastian. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. On today's headlines, Vietnam has lodged a formal protest against China's installation of 2 automatic vessel identification stations in the Paracel Islands. The move is seen as a direct challenge to Southeast Asian sovereignty and has sparked fresh tensions in the region. The Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs has announced its ambitious 2-year timeline for preparations to host the ASEAN Summit in 2026. This strategic plan underscores the nation's commitment to ensuring the success of this significant international event. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres delivered a sobering message cautioning against the dangerous prospect of a new atomic arms race that could bring the threat of global annihilation. Meanwhile, North Korea has raised concerns over the possibility of nuclear conflict on the Korean peninsula, heightening international anxieties. First, in our news, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, has successfully concluded its first ever joint military exercises known as the ASEAN Solidarity Exercise. The 5-day series of exercises were held in the waters near the island of Batam, Indonesia, and focused on enhancing cooperation between ASEAN member states' militaries, particularly in humanitarian disaster response scenarios. The exercises took place amid escalating tensions in the South China Sea, where China's increased activities have raised concerns among 4 ASEAN member states. Admiral Yudo Margono, the Indonesian military chief, expressed the importance of these drills in improving the readiness of ASEAN's armed forces to collaborate effectively during emergency situations.
Disaster relief. So in terms of disaster relief and medical assistance, this is a good exercise because we can start collaborating and also cooperate in terms of managing disasters in our region. So Malaysia and Indonesia is also not too far, and I'm sure that being in the same region and also in ASEAN is a good thing for us.
All 10 ASEAN member countries participated in the exercises, as well as East Timor, which is expected to become an official member of ASEAN in 2025. However, Myanmar participated solely as an observer after its top leaders were excluded from ASEAN summits and major meetings due to their failure to address the violent crisis sparked by the February 2021 coup in the country. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Vietnam has issued a stern statement condemning the actions. According to spokesperson Pham Tu Hang, all activities on the Paracel Islands without Vietnam's permission violate the nation's sovereignty and are completely invalid. This protest comes in response to reports of China's construction of ship identification stations on North Reef and Bombay Reef in the Paracel Islands, located within the disputed waters of the South China Sea. It's worth noting that this is not the first time Vietnam has called on China to respect its sovereignty in the region. In the past, Vietnam has urged its neighbor to cease tourism activities on both the Paracel and Spratly Islands and to refrain from conducting military drills in these contested waters. The situation in the South China Sea remains a hotbed of tension and territorial disputes, with neighboring nations closely watching these developments. Army chiefs and senior officers from 30 countries, including the United States, met in India Tuesday to discuss threats facing the Asia-Pacific region in the face of concern at an increasingly assertive China. U.S. Army Chief Randy George said, The region was critically important, speaking to reporters alongside his Indian counterpart Manoj Pandey, and vowed to boost cooperation to maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific.
The partnership between the U.S. and the Indian armies is vital for stability in the region, and the relationship between our armies is strong and growing stronger. I guess I'll just say that this region is critically important to us. I think you've seen that with our national defense strategy. This is a priority, and our army is all over the world. But it's why we're out here, and why we, I think, exercise more than anywhere else in the Pacific to build all of this. And I think we'll also talk about continuous transformation, how to adapt and evolve, how we're organized, and how we equip our formations for the future. And we all know that the character of war is changing. And we'll talk about how to strengthen our profession, the trust between the leaders and the led, and our standards and discipline. As we do these things, and we do them together, we deepen our unity and collective commitment, and that is how together we maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific.
The Indo-Pacific construct has come to occupy central space in the contemporary geostrategic canvas in recent years. Its significance is a reflection of the evolving dynamics in the political, security, economic, and environmental domains of today's world. The magnitude of maritime trade that transits through this area lends this region a pivotal stature in charting the world's course in the 21st century. Therefore, a periodic ideation, discussion, and collaborative congregation of all littoral partners is mandated, with core efforts focused on shared responsibility towards achieving and sustaining peace and stability.
Generals from Japan and Australia, which make up the Quad Defense Cooperation Forum, alongside Washington and New Delhi, also took part, as did Britain and France. As the generals met, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi said that Beijing would oppose the wanton expansion of military alliances, the latest in a string of warnings as Washington deepens security ties in the Asia-Pacific. Beijing has long said that any effort to establish a NATO-like military alliance in the Asia-Pacific would provoke conflict. Nations present at the two-day conference in New Delhi included Vietnam and the Philippines, both of which have long-standing pending territorial disputes with China. The conference, which launched in 1999, brings together army chiefs and top officers from 30 countries. Protesters in the Pohuwato Regency of Gorontalo province have set fire to the mayor's office in a dramatic demonstration demanding compensation over a mining company's activities in their area. According to local police, multiple arrests have been made in connection to the incident. The unrest began last Thursday, escalating tensions in an ongoing dispute between the community and mining companies operating on Indonesia's main islands. These clashes have been fueled by concerns about poor working conditions and land encroachment.
Penyebabnya adalah ada ketidakpuasan dari rekan-rekan atau saudara kita terhadap penggantian atau taliasi yang diberikan oleh perusahaan.
The incident unfolded in the mineral-rich Sulawesi Island as approximately 2,500 protesters marched towards the local mayor's office in Pohuwato Regency. However, no officials were willing to meet with the demonstrators, as reported by local media. The protesters, organized by community activists, were demanding compensation for damages caused by gold mining activity in their area. The mining operation in question is conducted by PT Puncak Emastani Sejahtera, a subsidiary of PT Merdeka Copper Gold, overseeing the Pani Gold Project mine. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres delivered a powerful message on Tuesday, calling for a unified effort to consign nuclear weapons to the annals of history once and for all.
The real only way to prevent the use of nuclear weapons is to eliminate them. Any use of nuclear weapon, anytime, anywhere, and in any context, would unleash a humanitarian catastrophe of epic proportions. And this is not hyperbole. This is the timeless message of the...
Mr. Gutierrez expressed his deep concern of the occasion of the International Day for the Total Elimination of Nuclear Weapons, lamenting the erosion of hard-won progress achieved over many decades in preventing the use and spread of nuclear weapons. He pointed to the troubling resurgence of nuclear risks, likening the current state of geopolitical mistrust and competition to the perilous levels of the Cold War era.
Nuclear sabers are again being rattled. This is madness. We must reverse course.
Russia and the United States have by far the largest arsenals, but China's has been growing quickly. North Korea has also defied the world with its nuclear program and repeated missile tests. In its own speech, one of the last of the week-long marathon of September's UN General Assembly, North Korea accused arch-rival, the United States, of driving the peninsula closer to the brink of nuclear war. Kim Song, North Korea's ambassador to the United Nations, denounced South Korea's actions under President Yoon Suk-yeol, a conservative who has worked to build tighter cooperation with the United States, as well as historic rival Japan.
Owing to the reckless and continued hysteria of nuclear showdown on the part of the United States and its foreign forces, the year 2023 has been recorded as an extremely dangerous year, that the military security situation in and around the Korean Peninsula was driven closer to the brink of a nuclear war. From the beginning of the year, the United States and the Republic of Korea made hysterical remarks of confrontation, such as end of the regime and occupation of Pyongyang, in flagrant violation of the principles and purposes of the United Nations Charter. They staged largest-scale joint military exercises of clearly aggressive nature, one after another, on our doorstep, including the Freedom Shield, Sangyeong Combined Joint Fire Annihilation Drill, and Ulchi Freedom Shield. After fabricating the so-called Nuclear Consultative Group in April, committed to the planning, operation, and execution of a preemptive nuclear strike against the DPRK, the United States is now moving on to the practical stage of realizing its sinister intention to provoke a nuclear war by frequently dispatching strategic nuclear submarines and strategic nuclear bombers carrying nuclear weapons in and around the Korean Peninsula for the first time in decades. The formation of the tripartite military alliance among the United States, Japan, and the ROK has also put into practice its long-sought ambition for Asian version of NATO, thus introducing a new Cold War structure to Northeast Asia.
An envoy from South Korea, formerly known as the Republic of Korea, took the floor to object to the remarks by North Korea, which routinely lashes out at the United Nations.
Before exercising the right of reply and listening to the representative of DPRK's statements today, I have to say that I do deeply regret that we here in this chamber have to hear the DPRK's repeated, groundless, illogical, and absurd allegations targeted at Republic of Korea again and again. Do you really believe, as DPRK claims, the Republic of Korea, together with the United States, conspires to provoke the nuclear war on the Korean Peninsula without reasons? ROK, U.S. combined defense and deterrence posture, including our combined exercise and training, is in response to the DPRK's military threat. These exercises and training are long-standing, routine, and defensive in nature.
In June, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute reported that global nuclear powers, notably China, increased their arsenals for a third consecutive year in 2022. Although the total number of nuclear warheads among Britain, China, France, India, Israel, North Korea, Pakistan, Russia, and the United States had decreased by approximately 1.6% to 12,512 warheads compared to the previous year. CIPRI cautioned that declining this trend was at a tipping point. Excluding warheads designated for dismantling, SIPRI noted a rise in the number of usable nuclear weapons. The most significant increase occurred in China, which boosted its stockpile from 350 to 410 warheads.
First, nuclear weapon states must lead the way. I call on them to meet their disarmament obligations and commit to never use nuclear weapons under any circumstances. Second, we need to reinforce and recommit to the nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation regime built over the decades. And this includes the treaties on non-proliferation of nuclear weapons and the prohibition of nuclear weapons. It also includes the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. Though not yet in force, the treaty remains a powerful testament of humanity's will to lift the shadow of nuclear annihilation from our world once and for all. In the name of all victims of nuclear testing, I call on all countries that have not yet ratified the treaty to do so without delay, and for those states that possess nuclear weapons to ensure a moratorium on all nuclear testing.
The Department of Foreign Affairs in the Philippines has stated that they will need at least 2 years to prepare for the hosting of the ASEAN Summit in 2026. Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo made this announcement during a Senate Finance Committee meeting where he appealed for additional budget allocation for the event in the years 2024 and 2025.
I think I just saw ASEAN. We will be chairing the ASEAN in 2026. We'll be the ASEAN chairman. So, well, the sooner you prepare, the better. Because 2 years,
or 2017 hosting.
probably 2 years at least. Because as chairman, we will have to not only worry about logistics, but we have to start preparing our themes and the issues that we will focus on. So, I would say at least 2 years.
Yes. Can you
Essentially, we will have to work out first the general theme and objectives of what our priorities will be. We have to hold a number of preparatory meetings before. The year before, we'll already be working with our colleagues. And then on the year itself, we will have to be hosting senior officials meetings, ministerial meetings, and then 2 summits. And it's not only the ASEAN 9 or 10, but we also have the dialogue partners, and which will be up to about 15. And we have a summit also, the East Asia Summit, which will involve about 27 countries. So it'll be a huge...
Originally, the Philippines was slated to host the summit in 2027, but Myanmar informed them that they would not be able to chair it in 2026.
it's not rotating?
Well, it's rotating. The only reason is Myanmar backed out. We should actually be 2027, but Myanmar wrote us saying they cannot chair.
Okay.
So if we could fill in,
At
then
the
we
time.
were at the last month at the summit. They endorsed the Philippine hosting in 2026.
What are your plans so that we can kindly involve the Senate, involve us in your planning, because we have a lot of inputs to give.
500 years in the making, 1521, the quest for love and freedom. This is the captivating tale of the Battle of Mactan, and it all begins as we kick off Filipino-American History Month. Here's MJ Racadio, our Net25 Hollywood correspondent.
500 years in the making. 1521, The Quest for Love and Freedom will be in theaters nationwide on October the 2nd, 2023, kicking off the Filipino-American History Month. I had an exclusive interview with executive producer Francis Larajo and the lead character Hector David Jr. Take a look.
Now, for those who want to see this film, why do they need to see this film, Francis?
First and foremost, you want to see this film because this tells of a great story of the greatness of the Filipino warriors that the world does not know. Before Spain conquered Central America, they were defeated in the Philippines. So that's something worth knowing for, that the Filipinos have changed world history and the world just doesn't know it. So that's one, in terms of history. But this is also a story of women empowerment. You know, you don't have to be a Filipino American female in order for you to enjoy this movie, because you will enjoy this because, you know, the movie will show how empowered and enlightened women are, and that they play a very strong, high position in our society, that they should be accorded such position even until now, you know, not just because they were like that before the Spaniards came, but even now they need such high respect and regard. So this is about women empowerment and enlightenment. And
it's time for everybody to unite. You know, society isn't the easiest place to live right now, but this is why a film like this is so important for the world to see, that there is love there. There is love for God, love for humanity, love for history. I am so honored that I have a half Filipino daughter and I get to be a part of her history.
Promise this peace and prosperity, yet you come with swords and armor. If we bow to these invaders now, we will be on our knees forever.
He does this or he dies!
Fighting can mean a war. People will get killed.
The glory of Spain ends here.
That is it for our entertainment news. Always tune in to Net25. I'm Jay Ricardo here because we live in extraordinary times.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. Thank you for joining us today here in ASEAN in Focus. This is Aldona Sebastiana from your Vietnam Bureau.